I told that they don't like to see you winning. They wanna see you in a penitentiary. I need me a little baby who gon' listen. Girl, I don't wanna be the one you ignorant. My mama told me, boy, make a decision.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Clutch Talk podcast / YouTube / We Do It All. As always, I am your host, John. Very happy to be here. My boy Jay Hizzle over there in the 6. How you doing, baby?
Doing great. I'm ready to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. I think it's a great young team, and I say that because there are a lot of players on the team who could potentially be great. But they're definitely not a great team right now.
Definitely not a great team right now, man. But you know what? Since they're not a great team, that makes for great content for me and you to talk about, brother.
Yes, sir. Exactly right.
Let's do this then, brother. Let's get straight into this Cavs talk. And the first thing that we like to ask, and you already know what it is, Jay, as a Cavs fan, do we believe that they were happy this year? They were content with how this last season just went?
I think that's a tough question because obviously they weren't competing. I don't even think in their mind they were ever a playoff team to begin with, and they start the East. But they actually started the season very well, extremely well, with Andre Drummond as their centerpiece. but I think that they you can't be content with how the record was. But I think in the sense that your record put you in a position to get Evan Mobley, who's a promising young big. And I think you have to be happy with what last season brought you, more as you knew you weren't going to be competing realistically record-wise in the East. So it was more so you got a great piece because of how you did. So you got to be content with that, I would say.
Yeah, man. If they would have did great last season, they definitely wouldn't have landed this great player in Evan Mobley. And we're gonna get into Evan Mobley real quick. I just want to put this out there, dog. The freaking Cavs lost by 36 yesterday to the Bulls, dog. Like, that is not acceptable. Like, you are not supposed to lose by 36 to another basketball team. I had to put that out there. I know it's preseason, but come on, man. 36 points. All right. All right. So, Jay, let's talk about Mobley, our guy. I really do like him. And like how you said, Jay, I really think he's a great player. He's got a lot of promising young talent. He led USC in scoring when he was at USC. But the thing is, Jay, I don't know if he got drafted to the right team. And this is why I say this, man. Like, right now, they have an extremely packed front court, man. They got Evan Mobley, they got Lauri Markkanen, they got Jared Allen, they got Kevin Love. I know older, not going to get as much minutes, and then they got Taco Falls, also not going to get extensive amount of minutes. But that is extremely packed backcourt, and it's kind of hard for a rookie because we know that as rookies, was the number one way to get better is go out there, make mistakes, and work through them. But you don't got too many mistakes to make when you got 4 of the people in your position ready to take you right out, man. So talk to me about how you feel about that fit. Is that even a packed front court to you? Are you worried about that, or are you good?
I'm not as worried, I feel like, as you, because here's the way I look at it, John, is Evan Mobley is a great creator offensively. And you mix that with Jared Allen, who's a rim runner. He can run the pick and roll great. You can get him out there with Sexland. Shout out Sexland, Colin Sexton, and Darius Garland, who are great, creating point guards. I would say that Colin Sexton is more of a scorer, and he's also crazy, apparently, to his teammates, apparently. But I think that he's a great fit if there was another big, because he doesn't demand the ball as much as, a star big would. Not saying that Jared Allen's a star. He's really great at what he does, blocking shots, rebounding, getting putbacks, like I said, being that pick and roll screen setter, which for young guard, like developing guard and great handle, I might add, and Darius Garland needs as an option as a rim runner. It's the perfect fit if there was to be. I agree that it is kind of a tight fit with Lauri Markkanen, and it's not really a clear direction of what they want to do there. And Kevin Love, who I think is going to be a great mentor at the same time for Evan Mobley. And I know that the Cavs had that in mind when they brought him in, because they knew that Kevin Love would be a great mentorship role. And he will get minutes. Not to say Kevin Love's just going to be a player coach this year. He will get minutes and try to help out that front court unit. But the skills that Evan Mobley has, he does fit well with Jared Allen if he was going to be paired with another big at that 4 position.
Okay, so you want to run it back to like a Twin Towers type thing, man, because Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, that's 2 7-footers right there at your 4 and 5, and that if that works, and like how you said, Jay, if they could get the right guard, like a Garland, a Darius Garland, or someone to set them up, man, that could cause havoc, man. But all right, Jay. So I just wanted to get your feel on the front court, but like how you mentioned, the backcourt is what we need to talk about. Sexland and Darius Garland. How do you feel about them, Jay? My first thing that comes to me is the lack of defense. That scares me, especially in today's league. You know, I like those. Those are 2 6'1" guards who don't have the greatest defensive ability. And two seasons ago, the 2020 season, when Colin Sexton was on the floor, the Cavs had the worst defensive rating in the entire league, man. So it's tough on the defensive end. Is that a sign of concern to you? Are you looking to move any of those guys because of that?
Yeah, I think it's a definite sign of concern, just strictly because they're giving a lot up defensively and offensively. I'm not too sold on them as scorers. I'm more sold on Darius Garland. I think he can be a solid starter in the league, if not, a high-level player in the East. But Colin Sexton, I don't think is the option at that 2 guard. If I'm being completely honest, I think they need to figure out what they can do. I know he was on the market. There was a lot of talk of him potentially being in the Ben Simmons trade, and who knows, he could still be there. Ben Simmons might be the option there. And you pair him at that 2 guard position, I don't know, or maybe have him at the 3 and move Isaac Okoro to the 2. I don't know, but I think that, it's a concern of mine as well. Just defensively, I think they're giving up a lot. Way too much size to match up with guards who are a lot bigger. We see a lot of bigger guards nowadays, and then to match up with that, the scoring isn't there, and the shooting's not there to be something I'm comfortable with. Obviously, we saw Darius and Garland improve his shooting this past year, but I'm not sold on Colin Sexton as a consistent 3-point shooter in the league.
And neither am I, brother. And, you said the name the NBA has been talking about all offseason, and that's Ben Simmons. And that's exactly who I have here that I want to talk about with you, Jay. So we know that the Cavs are clearly lacking some backcourt defense. We know that Ben Simmons clearly is elite defensive player, really 1 through 4, very, very elite. So, Jay, I have some trades here that I drew up on my mind, and I want to know if you would accept them as like the Cavs GM, as the Cavs representative. Okay, let me know if you are taking this trade for Ben Simmons. All right. So we have you give up Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen for Ben Simmons.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, 100% of the time I'm taking that. Obviously, you got Lauri Markkanen just over from the Bulls, but I think it's a situation where you're bringing in Ben Simmons, and I look at, like I said, putting him in. That's perfect you said that, because you're putting him in possibly at the 3, and you just have an ultimate stacked front court with size. Offensively, obviously, Evan Mobley is going to grow into an offensive player. He needs to get that confidence under his belt. We've seen at times he can be a little take the back seat to others, but that's natural as a rookie. You're just feeling your way out. You're adjusting to the speed of the game, and you're just getting your feet under you. So that's a natural progression as a rookie. Especially we've seen in the past that as a big man, it's a slower process and slower level. Whereas a guard, you're mostly, for the most part, you're growing into yourself. You know how you move as an athlete, whereas a big man, you've been big your whole life. You've been growing into your body. So as an 18, 19-year-old, not sure how old Evan Mobley is, he's around that age. he's going to grow in and develop. So you have to be a little more patient with bigs. As a Warrior fan, I know that Wiseman's going to be a natural progression as a big man, unless it's, AD. We've seen players dominate right away, but not to get too sidetracked here. I think that you bring in a guy like Ben Simmons as playing at the 3. You're adding that with Darius Garland, adding another creator, and maybe I would ask for another shooter in return. Maybe, Danny Green or someone to solidify that as just another piece and get those contracts to match up as well. I don't know the number from a sheer numbers point, but if you can get another shooter in return and put them around Darius Garland and then those bigs, I think it's a good return for the Cavs. But the lack of shooting may concern me if you're not getting anything back.
Okay. All right. So maybe that was a little too easy for you, Jay. Let me amp up the pressure a little bit for you. Would you give away Jared Allen and Collins and Sexton for Ben Simmons?
Jared Allen, I would be a little more hesitant there because I think having that rim protection and having that, that guy behind you, as we've all seen, it makes your life as a defender a lot easier because as you're pressing up on a guy, you're putting more pressure on defensively on the perimeter, knowing that you have a rim protector behind you. You're able to get in your guy more because if you get beat, you have him there to protect you. So giving that up is and adding that to the addition that he's offensively skilled to where he can finish around the rim. He has good hands. Which you can't often find too easy. I feel like, obviously, I feel like centers are replaceable, maybe the most replaceable position, but a guy with the skill set like Jared Allen, who can finish rim, has the hands, crazy wingspan. I don't even know what his wingspan is. Probably like 7'8" or 7'7", but I would be a little more hesitant, but I'm going to make that move just in terms of you're getting Ben. You would have to throw in, you'd have to throw Evan Mobley, probably move him up to the 5, and then you're playing with Ben at the 4 or the 3. And I feel like he is more of a natural 4 in the league, and he can still play that playmaking role with Darius Garland on the floor to play that 1, so he can just get his on the break and things like that. But I would still do that move if I'm the Cavs, but I'd be a little more hesitant giving up Jared Allen.
Okay. Yeah. So you brought up that, that hesitance, being hesitant to make that trade because of how great of a roller Jared Allen is. Not just a roller, a defensive player. And we know in like today's day, that's huge, man. If you can get a guy that can set some screens, roll to the hoop, catch lobs, play some defense, man, that's the ultimate big. That's like the ultimate role. The ultimate role player big right now in the league, and especially since the Cavs also added Ricky Rubio, man. He is just one of those guys that just got the ball on a string, man. He could just find those players. So I would have to go the other way on this one, Jay. I really want to keep Jared Allen on the team, but now let me switch it up. Let me ask you: would you do Kevin Love and Garland?
I'm not ready to give up Darius Garland right now.
For Ben Simmons?
Give up the land. I can't give up the land. Nah. I see the potential. We saw the growth of him last year, especially in that playmaking role as the 1. He's dealt with his injuries in the past, but I see him developing into. I'm not going to throw him in that CP3 conversation too soon, but that would be that would be a comparison that I could see if someone made that, and I'll even make it right now as him potentially developing into that sort of caliber player. Obviously, defensively has work to do, but he's a player that I'm going to rely on if I'm the Cavs, and I'd be way more hesitant because we haven't seen that shooting from Ben Simmons, even free throw shooting. I talked about on the 76ers. That's all he needs to improve because he can get to the rim. No one's stopping him. And if you want to foul me, sure, I'm going to knock down these free throws because you're not stopping Ben Simmons from getting to the cup. But Nah, Ricky Rubio was a good addition, especially at the mentorship role, but he's not a starting guard, and he's shooting deficient as well. So if you bring in a guy like Ben, you're bringing him in. Are you building around? Yeah, my question to you is: you're building around Evan Mobley or Ben Simmons if you get rid of Garland, and I'm not ready to throw all my eggs in that. But yeah, no.
Okay, yeah. So Jay, you big on the land. You big on the land.
I'm big on the land. I'm big on the land. I'm more. I would gladly give away Sexton in a deal than Garland at this point.
Okay. So then if we see how you feel about the land. So then let's talk about your segment, my guy. Let's talk about your segment, the Clutch Talk Timeout. Jay, you want to lead us for us, brother?
Get it in. And this is to you, Jay. So who is the clutch player on the Cavs? You got Garland. You got a lot of number one options, potential number one options, I would say, but no real clear cut person to me. But who you going to in clutch time if you're the Cavs?
I really wanted to go with Darius Garland because for the points that you bring up with him being able to shoot, but man, I just love the dog in Colin Sexton, just the grit. I'm gonna get to the hoop. Yeah, exactly, young bull. I'm gonna get to the hoop, and I think that aggression and with him that like angry and that like kind of mentality is either gonna get him to the line or he's gonna get a bucket. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to pick between the two, because it's definitely between Sexton and Garland, I would have to go with Sexton only because I think Sexton is just more of that young bull. What about you, Jay?
Gee, so your Biggerstaff, your JB Biggerstaff, you're going with young bull. Okay. If I'm JB Biggerstaff, I'm going with young bull because Garland has proven time and time again he's a great playmaker. But if I need a bucket and someone to get their shot or get to the rim, I'm going with young bull. Strictly because we've seen him do it before. Not to say that Darius Garland hasn't hit big shots, but Sexton has more of a track record being that go-to guy, and he has that it factor. He wants to take that last shot as well. So until he's off that roster, I think he's going to demand that ball in crunch time situations. So it's going to be hard for the Cavs, to go away from him. As he should,
really. But okay, so Jay, we know the one and the two. We know that's the Sexton, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. But then it starts to get a bit iffy from 3 through 5 as far as the starting lineup. So talk to me as far as how are you going to deal with that? We got Isaac Okoro, which is a great defender. No, not the greatest offensively gifted player, but a great defensive player. But then we have Lauri Markkanen, not as great on defense, but more offensively gifted. But then are you going to run a 7-footer and have a 7-footer at the 3, 4, and 5? Yeah, I don't think you're going to really do that. So talk to me, Jay, about how you're feeling as for the Cavs lineup.
Well, for right now, you're going to go with Darius Garland, Colin Sexton at the 1 and 2. I don't think there's any debate about that. And then at the 3, I'm going to go with Isaac Okoro. He was a high pick for the Cavs in the past season. And you have to think that is who I'm going with if I'm JB Bickerstaff, that 1, 2, 3, that young punch. And then at the 4 position, you're going to go with your 3rd pick in the draft, Evan Mobley. And then at the 5, it's Jared Allen. And then I look at the rest of the roster, and you got a good rotation, having Lauri Markkanen coming off the bench as a 3-point shooter. You got Ricky Rubio to be the backup to the 1. Chetty Osman, obviously he has work to do, but we've seen what he can do as a role player as well. But I look at that bench, and that's where I'm kind of a little shook up. You got K Love as well there, but you have a lot of, I wouldn't say no names, but you got a lot of pieces who are young. Dylan Windler, obviously a shooter off the bench, but you got a lot of question marks on that bench that you really don't know where their rotation goes after 1 or 2 with Ricky Rubio and Lauri Markkanen. So it's a little bit concerning on my end. But how are you feeling about the starting lineup, Jay?
That was literally the perfect description, Jay. I feel that the Cavs are realistically like a 10-man team. You know, all other teams in NBA are like 15, 16-man teams, but I think that the Cavs realistically only have 10 playable players, right? Like not even that the other players are no names, but it's at the fact of like they are. You might as well be out. You might as well go tank. You might as well go tank if if you're going to put them out there. And that also shows signs of concern. You know, like the season, injuries come up, injuries happen, and if you only got a 10-man lineup to reliably run out there, I also have huge signs of concern for the Cavs and their starting lineup. But I also would agree with you, Jay. You know, the 1 and 2 is Sexton. Darius Garland and then Colin Sexton. I really want to put Lauri Markkanen, but I'm not going to run a 7-footer at my 3. He's just going to get worked on defense. So I have to side with you, Jay, on the Isaiah Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. My boy Jay got the good lineups. All right, Jay. Well, Jay, we know that there isn't much for like to talk about like with the Cavs, especially when it comes to untouchables. So to you, Jay, is there even a single untouchable on there? I know Evan Mobley is great potential, but we haven't seen the man play one real NBA game yet.
No untouchable players on the Cavs. I think there's no real debate unless you got it otherwise. I think the Cavs are a very young team, which is very good at trade assets as well. So if I'm on my team like the Philly, maybe even Portland, I'm looking at that roster and I'm saying, who can I get assets as well as young potential talent to possibly look as a trade partner or maybe a 3-team deal as well.
All right. So Jay, with a team like the Cavs, man, it's really more just let's look forward, man. So because there's not much to look into right now. So let's talk about this upcoming season, Jay. And where do you see the Cavs finishing? And are they a play-in? I don't think they're playoffs.
No, I see them as one of the bottom 3 seeds in the East. And that's really pretty much it. I think there's no really expectations. I think they're going to be in a lottery team again this upcoming draft in 2022. And I think they're content with that as well. The way they have their roster set up, they know they're going to develop those young pieces, and they're probably 1 or 2 years away realistically from even competing with that set roster. And then you don't even know what you're going to do with Sexton, Garland, and really that roster. So we can see a lot of turnover as well from some of those pieces. Look for them to be active potentially at trade deadline.
So follow up to that question, Jay, you said that there's like 1 to 2 years until they're back into, be able to compete. So you have 1 or 2 years until they're back into the playoffs, or how many years?
1 or 2, yeah, probably two on the over there.
On the over.
2 of the 2 years, I should say even 2 to 3 years where they're even legitimately competing for a playoff spot, let alone a play-in. So that's just where they're at in terms of their development and getting in a guy who's a clear number 1 until we can answer that clutch talk timeout with a clear option at the number 1 go-to guy. They're going to have some trouble and some answers. Maybe Evan Mobley's that guy. Maybe it's Darius Garland. Maybe they already have it on the roster. Maybe they got to go out and get someone. We don't know, and we'll see.
Yeah, Jay. And I would have to agree with you on that too, and on the over for as long as it's going to take for the Cavs to be back in contention. Because I mean, like how you said, Jay, like they would for them to be around 2 or 3 years to get into the playoffs, they would have to make perfect moves, from here on out. No letting players walk, no, none of that, man. Keeping a Darius Garland, and who knows if they even do that. If they decide to ship Darius Garland, which would be a terrible decision, that could prolong that to a 4 or 5 year rebuild, man. So I definitely agree with you on that. But all right, Jay. So last question here. What's one word or one phrase that we feel that a Cavs fan would describe their last season and how they feel about this upcoming 2021-2022 season?
Yeah. Andre Drummond buyout? No. Probably just rebuilding and still building. Honestly,
I like that.
there ain't much to it. It's just they know what they got. They know what the pieces they're trying to develop, and then they got to just keep developing. You bring in Mobley, you add another block to that building, and you're working to build that foundation to potentially compete in a few years, like a lot of these younger teams in the league.
Man, I mean, the Cavs got to do it, man. How do you build a house? Brick by brick, man. The Cavs got to do it. The Cavs,
exactly, bro.
The Cavs got to do it, man. All right. Well, this is a good point for us to go ahead and wrap it up here, Jay. You got anything else you want to talk about with the Cavs here?
Nah, there's not much to talk about with the Cavs in terms of this season. Like we keep saying, the theme is sticking with choose your core, who you believe in as those young guys, and then keep building around them. And once they find that, they're going to be successful. I think JB Bickerstaff is a solid coach, and he can lead a young team to the promised land eventually. But the pieces aren't there right now, and that's clear.
Man, that's clear, Jay. Well, that's a great way to sum it up here, Jay. And that's a good way for us to put a little period on this, man. So I just want to let all the fans know, man, if you guys listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, don't forget to give us a ranking, man. Give us a 5-star ranking. Leave us a comment, man. Let us know what's your favorite team. Let us know how you're feeling about the Cavs. And Jay, what you want the people on YouTube to do?
Subscribe. That's going to be the theme until we get more that percentage of subscribers up, y'all. We appreciate and we love Clutch Talk family watching our videos, supporting us that way. But if you could just simply click that rectangular gray-white box there that says subscribe, that's all we need you to do. And we appreciate y'all watching as usual.
Yes, sir, man. So that's it, man. We out of here, y'all. Clutch Talk out.
Peace.